Prime Minister James Marape's invitation to the United Nations Conference, a milestone for Papua New Guinea on the global stage. By Chronicles of HP. In 2024, Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister, James Marape, received a prestigious invitation to attend the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, in New York, marking a significant milestone for both his political career and his country. The invitation was not merely a ceremonial gesture. It highlighted the growing relevance of Papua New Guinea, PNG, on the global stage, and recognized the critical role Marape has played in addressing pressing regional and international issues. As global attention increasingly focuses on challenges such as climate change, sustainable development, and geopolitical stability, the inclusion of PNG in key discussions signifies a shift in the global order, where smaller nations like PNG are now being heard. In this article, we explore the reasons why Prime Minister Marape was invited to this year's United Nations Conference and the broader implications for his leadership and PNG's role in global affairs. Climate change leadership. A crucial driver. One of the primary reasons behind Prime Minister Marape's invitation to the UN General Assembly was his unwavering advocacy for climate change action. Papua New Guinea, located in the Pacific region, is one of the countries most vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and changing ecological systems have threatened the livelihoods of millions of its citizens. As a result, PNG has emerged as a vocal advocate for stronger global action on climate change, and Marape has been at the forefront of these efforts. Under Marape's leadership, PNG has actively participated in regional forums such as the Pacific Islands Forum, PIF, where Pacific nations collectively push for more robust commitments from industrialized countries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. In his speeches, Marape has consistently called for increased international support for small island developing states SIDS, which are disproportionately affected by climate change, despite contributing the least to global emissions. Marape's presence at the United Nations Conference is significant because the UNGA has become a central platform for countries to discuss climate action, particularly in light of the Paris Agreement's goals to limit global warming. His attendance underscores the growing importance of Pacific voices in these global dialogues, with PNG and other island nations advocating for urgent action to mitigate climate impacts and protect their future. During the conference, Marape is expected to reiterate PNG's commitment to international climate agreements while also calling on developed nations to fulfill their financial and technical obligations. The focus will likely be on securing more climate financing for adaptation and resilience building projects in PNG and other Pacific nations, as well as ensuring that the voices of smaller nations are not sidelined in global climate negotiations. PNG's role in Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Another key reason for Prime Minister Marape's invitation to the United Nations Conference is his government's commitment to achieving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. The SDGs are a global blueprint for achieving a better and more sustainable future by 2030, addressing challenges such as poverty, inequality, hunger, and environmental degradation. Under Marape's leadership, PNG has made significant strides in aligning its national development plans with the SDGs. The government has prioritized policies aimed at reducing poverty, improving access to education and healthcare, and promoting gender equality. These efforts have been recognized by international organizations and development partners, contributing to PNG's growing reputation as a country that is serious about sustainable development. However, PNG also faces considerable challenges in meeting the SDG targets, particularly in areas such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure development. The country's geographical isolation, diverse population, and economic dependence on extractive industries have complicated efforts to achieve sustainable development. Marape's attendance at the UNGA presents an opportunity for PNG to showcase its progress while seeking additional support from the international community. During the conference, Marape is expected to participate in high-level discussions on global development issues, where he will emphasize the importance of international cooperation in achieving the SDGs. Specifically, he is likely to highlight the need for targeted assistance to developing countries like Papua New Guinea, particularly in areas such as infrastructure development, capacity building, and access to technology. Geopolitical significance, PNG as a strategic player in the Pacific. The geopolitical significance of Papua New Guinea has also contributed to Prime Minister Marape's invitation to the United Nations Conference. In recent years, the Pacific region has become a focal point of global geopolitical competition, particularly between major powers such as the United States, China, and Australia. PNG, due to its strategic location and natural resource wealth, has found itself at the center of this competition. Marape's government has navigated this complex geopolitical landscape by pursuing a foreign policy that emphasizes regional cooperation and economic partnerships while maintaining PNG's sovereignty and independence. He has sought to strengthen PNG's relationships with traditional allies like Australia and New Zealand, while also engaging with emerging partners such as China and Japan. As PNG takes on a more prominent role in regional affairs, Marape's invitation to the UNGA reflects the international community's recognition of the country's growing strategic importance. During the conference, Marape is expected to engage in discussions on regional security, economic cooperation, and the role of small and medium-sized nations in global governance. His participation in these talks will be closely watched by both regional and global actors, as PNG's position on key issues could have implications for the broader geopolitical dynamics of the Pacific. Advocacy for economic equity and fair trade. Prime Minister Marape's vision for PNG's economic future has also been a factor in his invitation to the United Nations Conference. Since taking office, Marape has championed economic reforms aimed at ensuring that PNG's natural resources benefit its people more equitably. His government has pushed for a greater share of profits from the country's lucrative extractive industries, particularly in oil, gas, and mining. Marape's Take Back PNG policy has resonated with both domestic and international audiences, as it reflects a broader global movement towards economic equity and fair trade practices. This policy seeks to renegotiate agreements with multinational corporations to ensure that Papua New Guinea derives more value from its resources, while also promoting local industries and creating jobs for the country's growing population. At the United Nations Conference, Marape is expected to advocate for fairer global trade practices, particularly for developing countries that are often at a disadvantage in negotiations with large multinational corporations. He is likely to call for reforms to international trade rules that would allow resource-rich nations like Papua New Guinea to retain a greater share of their wealth, while also promoting sustainable development and environmental protection. Strengthening global partnerships. Finally, Prime Minister Marape's invitation to the United Nations Conference reflects PNG's growing efforts to strengthen global partnerships. In a world increasingly defined by multilateral cooperation, Marape has sought to deepen PNG's ties with international organizations, development partners, and global institutions. His government has actively engaged in regional and global forums, including the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, APEC, and the Pacific Islands Forum, to promote dialogue and cooperation on issues ranging from climate change to economic development. During the UNGA, Marape is expected to meet with leaders from around the world, strengthening bilateral relationships and forging new partnerships. These interactions will provide PNG with opportunities to secure foreign investment, development aid, and technical assistance, which are critical for the country's continued progress. Conclusion: a new era for Papua New Guinea on the global stage. Prime Minister James Marape's invitation to the United Nations General Assembly is a testament to his leadership and the growing importance of Papua New Guinea on the global stage. From advocating for climate change action to promoting sustainable development and fair trade, Marape has positioned PNG as a country that is ready to contribute to global solutions while also addressing its own challenges. As Marape participates in this year's UN conference, his actions will be closely watched by both domestic and international audiences. For PNG, this moment represents an opportunity to solidify its role as a key player in global affairs, while continuing to navigate the complexities of regional geopolitics and domestic development. Marape's presence at the UNGA underscores a broader shift in global governance, where the voices of smaller nations like Papua New Guinea are being amplified and recognized for their importance in shaping a more equitable and sustainable world.